Hello, Hearties, and welcome to the Hearties Hotline, your connection to Hope Valley. Hosted by Caroline, myself, Cammie, and Casey. Thanks to Brian Bird for letting us use the music on our show. Now grab that paprika-filled shepherd's pie and sit back and relax. Here we go. Hello, hello, my hearty lovelies. How is everybody doing out there? Welcome to one of the anticipated events of this podcast. Let's start at the very beginning.
That's the wrong movie.
Oh, whoops. But that's the cool thing is we have two beginnings. We've got the pilot movie, which is the very beginning of When Calls the Heart. And now we have this episode, which is the very beginning of the series. It's very cool. So, episode 1, Lost and Found. As Elizabeth nervously faces her first day of teaching, the coal miners are up in arms when a plank with a personal message is found in the rubble of the coal mining accident. Jack sets out to identify the cause of the accident and also discovers who the plank belongs to. Ooh.
I forgot all about that plank.
You did?
I did. I really did. I really did. I haven't seen this in a really long time, mostly on purpose. First, I was really sad after season 5. But second, after I got over that, I really wanted to do this podcast with you guys. And, we've been busy and we've, had a lot of other things on our plate. And I wanted to watch it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
So I literally haven't seen this episode in forever.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, for me, I was like, oh my goodness, it's like going back home. I feel
it's awesome, isn't it?
It was so great. I was so excited. It
really is.
Oh
yeah, it's a, no wonder all of us got hooked, right?
Mm-hmm.
No wonder all of us got hooked on it, because that's a very compelling, appealing episode to start things out. It really is. Okay, so let's talk about that plank for a second. Now, in my personal opinion, the idea of comparing handwriting samples, I don't know that could really work with a carving.
Plank? Yeah.
That was my one thing. I mean, it's all they could do. So yeah. I'm not saying that Jack did the wrong thing in that, but how can you compare carving with handwriting? It just
I thought it was written on with coal.
No, it was carved.
Oh.
It was carved into the plank.
My eyes have been alive the last 5 years.
Otherwise, that would have been perfect. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. I thought it was just like somebody got like charcoal or coal or whatever and just scribbled it out real fast.
It was carved into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. I was like, how are you supposed to be able to tell from handwriting who carved it? So that was something that kind of was interesting with me. The other thing was the grammar. You got the comma after forgive me, comma, pa. And I still remember watching it for the first time, and I thought it was forgive me, pa.
Yes.
And then Elizabeth says, forgive me, pa. I'm like, wait a minute, what? So I was of the opinion that it should have been a dash. That was my personal opinion. What about you guys? What are your feelings on the plank?
I could see that needed the dash. When I heard it, I'm like, forgive me, Pa. Like, forgive me, Dad. But then it was forgive me, Pa. Like, no. When she said, Pa. Like, yeah. Like, okay.
Yeah, no, I had the same sentiments when the first time I watched it. I thought it was, a child to a father.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way they were saying it, I was like, wait a second, is it from a pa? Like,
yeah.
I thought it was like Peter to his dad.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not crazy. Yes. Always good to have verification.
We're all crazy then.
Oh, yes, we all are. All right. Favorite part. Casey, what's your favorite part of this episode?
Overall, the overarching thing that really stood out that I would say would be my favorite would be the banter. And I guess if I had to pick a specific scene, it would definitely be the banter when they meet officially for the first time. That is, and again, I had forgotten about that. Like, I knew they, I remembered all the mushy stuff about Jack and Elizabeth, like all the and the gaga, but this meet cute moment was like everything. It was the charm and the suave and the little flirtiness, and then it went flipped just like that, went 180 and turned into snark and anger and spiciness, saltiness. Salty.
Jack is salty.
Oh, he is salty.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
But it had me cracking up, and I think that's why I was so compelled to watch it the first time around. Is it because it had that along with sadness and happiness? The humor really just drew me in, and I was like, like laughing ridiculously. But I would say it is the snarkiness in that first meeting. Favorite part.
Caroline?
The dinner with Abigail, like in the banter between them at Abigail's, and like that little look she gives, like, I see, like, this is gonna be something. I love that part.
My favorite part, so funny that all of us, it has to do with the banter between Jack and Elizabeth. My favorite part is right after dinner when he says, after only 2 minutes of talking to you, I figured out that you were not wearing your own shoes or dress, and you were not disappointed after you found out that you were going to see me at dinner. You're walking on the outside of your shoes to compensate for the ill fit from the pinch. Your dress is 3 inches too short and a little tight around the waist. And just the how dare you flames that just light in her eyes.
Goodness. Okay, in that same scene, my favorite diss is when Elizabeth says, good, because this town doesn't need a second-rate Mountie runs from a challenge. And I was like, oh, burn!
Oh man, but let's talk about snark. The snarkiness on his face when she said, and the part about not being disappointed at seeing you at dinner, and just that was just a guess. Oh, Jack, pour some pepper on you because you are salty.
Oh, yes. When he said that, I was like, oh, no, he didn't just go there. And I was like, man.
No, my thing of he didn't just go there was the dress was too tight.
I know.
You are calling this girl fat. You are such a dork.
I know. And my other thought too is like, man, Jack, you're arrogant, man.
He is.
He is so arrogant.
Full of himself.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, dude, like it was funny.
Yeah. Hey, speaking about the dinner, did you ladies know that there's a deleted scene right there where it shows the flashback to the day when Abigail is describing it, and it becomes a voiceover instead of just watching her?
Oh, no.
Well, say that again, Caroline.
I said I saw that on YouTube.
Oh, you did? Mm-hmm. Her performance is marvelous in that, but I have to admit, after seeing that, I said, "Oh gosh, that's really good." With her voice in the background, with Abigail doing a voiceover explanation, I'm like, why didn't they use that? I really like that. It was breathtaking. It was powerful.
How long is it?
Oh, it's just the length of her
Okay.
talking.
Is it just them running out of the mine and the explosion?
It's them running out of the mine. It's the window shaking. It's the women looking out at the window.
Oh.
Like a flashback, yeah.
Yeah, all we could think to do was run, and it shows them turning and running, and that'll need a mop. Oh gosh.
Oh, I'll have to find this clip.
Yes, you have to find it.
Or we could just, get the DVDs from Edify Films.
There you go.
About that.
Little product placement there,
Yeah. We love you, Elliot. Shout out to Edify Films. Okay, so memorable quotes. What were some of your favorite lines in this one?
When she's like at the beginning of school and the little boy comes up to her and says, like, I have cheese for lunch. And she says, oh, I like cheese. Like, I don't know why. It makes me giggle. And that's it's my favorite quote. And when Jack says, like, and the dress is too tight, like after the supper, I'm like, dude.
Bad man.
I wrote down all the ones I wrote down were all the snarky remarks they had between.
Well, then let's save those for those for later.
Yeah, so, I will say, okay, so this one's still a Jack and Elizabeth one. It's not the snark, but I did enjoy at the end when they're talking about Gabe and they say instinct is for Mounties, not for teachers. And then Elizabeth comes back and says students are for teachers, not Mounties. So
I wrote that down too.
I appreciated the fact that these two at opposite ends were brought together by this one incident, and they had different motives and different motivation, and they were able to like twist each other's words around, for the better good. So that was super fun for me.
Yeah. So some of my favorites are I need a drink. Not drink. Yeah.
I don't drink.
Not a drink. I don't drink. And at the very, very beginning, when she goes that I am Elizabeth Thatcher, a strong, independent, capable woman, getting more panicked as the outlaws are headed her way. And then she drops to the floor and says out loud, I can face any obstacle with courage, grace, and dignity.
Yeah, like that's a part that drew me in at the beginning, like watching it. I'm like, you go, girl. So,
really quick, do you guys think that the driver and the shotgun, did they get killed or did they run off? Were they cowards? Because we see her all by herself with her luggage thrown everywhere. So, and there's no sign of them. So, were they on the ground right behind the stagecoach, or do you think they ran off?
I think they ran off.
They probably ran off.
That's my guess. Yeah.
I would say ran off just for the sake of the fact that this is When Calls the Heart, so probably not going to get too violent. And it always makes me laugh that the whole purpose of the shotgun is protection, and in all the movies he runs off, Like, what's the point of protecting the stagecoach then? And then a more poignant quote was, sometimes people die without I love yous or I forgive yous.
Oh.
Made me cry too.
Yeah.
Really hit you in the
feels.
It really does. It really does, because my father passed away from cancer, and we had time, obviously, but he took a spin for the worse so fast. One day he's fine and he's babysitting my daughter for me and he's holding her and all that. And that night he turned around. And so then he was delirious, and we could tell him that we loved him, but
you couldn't hear it from him.
Tell us. Yeah. He couldn't understand us. Yeah. So that line gets you right there. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, so here's a little fun snippet that I thought we could do. rich girl reactions.
Yay!
Because let's face it, people, Elizabeth Thatcher, she's the royalty of Hamilton, right? She's one of the richest of the richest. And she goes to Coal Valley.
Coal Valley.
Yeah, it seems like her family would be the equivalent of like the Hiltons or something, you know?
Something like that.
So
the very first one, which I think is very funny, is when she talks about her privileged upbringing and the voiceover, and right at that second, the stagecoach goes over a rock, and she's just absolutely mortified at the bump. I'm just like, oh, sweetheart, you're in for a long haul.
And when she's in the teachers for the first time, like, looking around, I'm like, you don't even know what a outhouse
biting
is.
into an onion.
it was a turnip.
Oh yes, a turnip, and just.
So, a fun fact about that turnip, if you have not seen Aaron Krako's tweet about that, that was a genuine reaction, because she had never eaten a turnip, much less one that's raw, and Michael Landon Jr. had so much fun with her on that scene.
Oh man. Speaking of fun, let's talk about her in the outhouse. Now that's a rich girl reaction right there.
Yes.
You're afraid to even open the door.
Terrible.
I mean, that would be my reaction too, like, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, let's be honest.
Yes, especially because she probably grew up with indoor plumbing and all that, all the things. So, I mean,
I wonder when indoor plumbing was invented. That would be something to look up, because we're at 1910. And I know that it was way before. I know it was in the late 1800s, but that would just be something fun to look up. Okay.
1840.
1840.
Starting 1840. The art and practice of indoor plumbing took nearly a century to develop, starting in the 1840s.
Okay.
By 1940s, half the houses lacked hot piped water, a bathtub or shower, or a flush toilet.
Interesting. All right. Good to know. Thank you, historian Casey.
You're welcome. And thank you, Google. Product placement.
Sponsor.
Okay. Another rich girl reaction. I am not afraid of rolling up my
I mean, like I said, I would be the same way.
Oh, I would.
Oh, completely. And we had rats in this house not too long ago. About 6 months ago, we had rats in my house, and it was terrible. It was awful.
I did that with snake. I had a snake in my house.
Yes, I remember you telling us that you had a snake, and yucky.
Oh man. Oh.
And then we got hanging the dress too close to the fire. Then the sleeve actually goes in. And then fending off wolves with a wooden spoon as a weapon.
Oh, dear Elizabeth.
Dear
good
darling.
Good thing Jack wasn't there when that happened. Can you imagine?
Oh, man, she would never live that down.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
And do you think that Jack knew that she burned down the teacherage? Because that would be something else that she could
he probably did. From Flomo and all the gossips, he probably heard rumblings. I mean, if he was smart enough to pick up on the handwriting, and he was smart enough to pick up on the fact that she wasn't wearing her own clothes,
probably figured it out at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, riding into town. What happened? What was this? Oh, that was the teacherage that our new teacher just burned down the other night. Fantastic. William Thatcher's princess.
Hey, that's coming later. And then I've got two more. Have you girls got anything else that you can think of? of rich girl reactions.
I've got to say, all her quoting of like everything is one that I was like, you are like, are you
showing off?
Like what? I thought Oliver O'Toole for all of that. Signed, sealed, delivered there. I was like, you're like the female Oliver. Instead of quoting Shakespeare, you're quoting like philosophers. Yeah. And I'm like, girl, this is Coal Valley. They don't even have indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
The kids aren't gonna care.
So the two that I have left are when they're walking in the woods and following Gabe, and Jack says, "You really don't know." Of course I know. And then at the very end, when she's writing her letter to her parents, a handsome, very annoying Mountie. Because that's how a rich girl would react, I think. A very handsome and very annoying Mountie.
Yes.
Yes.
Which brings us to ding-a-ling-a-ling, yak about Jack. The man who is described as inquisitive, insensitive, and a second-rate Mountie who runs away from a challenge.
Honestly, I really had a memory lapse because all I remember is romantic Jack and all that.
And but there was a Jack before the romantic Jack.
Right? Yeah. This is Jack who is not ever going to take a wife, Jack. And
no.
I loved his entrance. It was kind of a grand entrance, you know?
It was a grand entrance. It was huge, especially that stark color.
Yes.
Even Elizabeth, because she's borrowing one of Abigail's dresses, her colors are there, but they're very muted. And then in rides this bright red, spanking new Mountie Surge, you know, probably freshly laundered, you know.
And like she's and the little boy's like, who is that? Like, that's a Mountie, and she's like looking at him like, I see you.
I see a Mountie. He's a man under 30. He's handsome. He's clean shaven.
He's good looking.
He's gorgeous.
Chopping wood later.
More on that later.
I also loved how he's no nonsense too. He's
very
totally serious, no nonsense. And Gowan's starting to challenge him, and he shuts him down like both times. The first time, you know, at the mine, he says, "I'm Jack Thornton, your new Mountie," or something along those lines.
I'm the new constable of Coal Valley. I only know because I wrote it. You know?
And it's like he like drops the mic there, and then he also drops the mic when he's with him in the office, and he says, "I don't work for you, so."
I like that part.
I don't work for the company. Is really what he's
right.
But
yeah.
Still, he put him in his place, and I was like, okay, I see you.
You know what my husband said? He said, he looks like a kid. He speaks with authority, but his face has none. It's like, well, yes, he's much younger.
Yeah. And I don't know if the age continuation is accurate from the original movie, because we talked about this last time on the pilot.
Yes.
But Elizabeth is 22 in the pilot movie. So I don't know if that age still kind of carries over, if she's maybe a slightly older, but I would assume she's still in her young 20s just because it's her first teaching position.
The oldest I would go is 25. That's
what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's the oldest that I would say.
Yeah. So that would make Jack about 25-ish.
Yeah, 25, 26. He could pass for that.
Yeah. Oh, no, they both totally can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us your skin regimen.
I know.
A lot of coal dust. A steady diet of coal dust. Good for the skin. Okay, so talking about no nonsense. To keep William Thatcher's princess from stubbing a toe in a town she had no business coming to. Oh, denied.
And poor Elizabeth, okay? In that moment, she had no idea. She's just so naive to
so
her
sweet.
privilege and her upbringing and everything.
Well, it's the second time in this town she's been called a princess.
Yeah. And she has no idea that, you know, her last name is making it's a negative connotation for people.
Right.
Like Jack. And, you know, it's just so I felt so bad for her because she's just like, oh, William Thatcher, like, no big deal.
Yeah, that's my dad. Yeah,
that's my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
the 180 that his attitude takes. He's totally hitting on her in the beginning.
Oh, totally.
Daniel Lissing once said, yeah, he goes in, he thinks, I'm new in town, she's new in town, we're both single, we're both under 30, this is great. And I mean, he's totally hitting on her, shaking her hand. I don't have any chalk dust. Now I know. Cheated. There's the chalk dust. There's our chalk dust reference that will become famous later. And then once he says William Thatcher, the shipping tycoon, boom, turns on the face of a dime. Oh my gosh.
Man. And also with that, because he's all like, I'm out of here. I am not going to be babysitting some chick. Some rich girl, some princess. And here's the other arrogant part too, is when he goes to the mercantile and he's like, I demand a transfer. And I'm like, okay, hold on.
Back up, yo.
Sir, you are an under 30-year-old with not a lot of experience.
You're a constable.
You're a constable. You have no business telling your superior, I demand a reassignment. Like, let's not be a Karen now, okay? Not be a Karen.
All right, let's talk about Caroline's favorite yak about Jack part, the wood chopping.
Boom.
Oh, baby. It's the first time we see. My husband even noticed it. He said, did she just fan herself? He said, yes, she did.
Totally.
She totally just fanned herself. And thus begins Aaron Krako's long career of insisting on wood chopping scenes from her co-stars in her movies and series.
I mean, and like she's looking at him and she's just watching them, and then she's like turns around and
trying
like,
not to.
Yeah, and then she's just
you can see the internal struggle. It's like a car accident. You can't help but watch.
I'm supposed to be mad at him. I'm supposed to be mad. I do not like him, but he's chopping wood.
Yeah. Oh. So while we fan ourselves, any last comments about the wood chopping before we move on?
Good form.
Oh, very good form.
Good swing.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing about Jack in our Yak About Jack segment. He's educated. He is very, very educated. And because he talks about, he walks into Abigail's house and the first thing he goes to is the painting. And he says that the artist has a wonderful grasp of color and composition. Like, whoa, excuse me? Renaissance man.
Yeah. Elizabeth was shocked too, I think. Yeah.
Say that again, what?
I said Elizabeth was shocked too.
Yeah, incredibly. Yeah. So we find out that he is educated because his mother was a
teacher. A noble profession.
Okay, what was he doing there? When he said a teacher, a most noble profession, was he trying to compliment her or was he trying to snide her? You're not living up to your noble profession. Or was he doing a little bit of both? What do you guys think?
I think a little charm, throwing a little charm back in there. Like
trying to throw a little charm in?
Because I mean, she's still pretty, and he knows it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think he's kind of subtly letting her know. I don't think of you as second rate because you're a teacher. I think of you as second rate because you're William Thatcher's princess.
Mm-hmm.
More like, I think teaching, this has nothing to do with you being a teacher, it has everything to do with you. My quarrels with you are because of you, not because you're a teacher. Because he did kind of insult her and tell her like she shouldn't even be there, which could be taken multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You won't last a month in a town like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, who does the plank end up being from?
oh,
Noah Stanton.
Noah Stanton. We find out because of that little, what would you even call that? An extra curl, I guess, or an extra slant in his handwriting. The way that he wrote his N was the same way he wrote his M in me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Abigail not telling the town because she obviously figured it out very quickly that it was from Noah, and everybody was trying to say, this is mine. I was asleep when he left. This was my goodbye. This was his goodbye. My husband left notes for us all the time, so it makes sense that he would leave one last note for us, on and on and on and on. Gabe is sobbing. He's saying, I know it was written for me, when really he's saying, I need it to be written for me.
Yeah. Well, real quick, back to that point, you make a really good point about Gabe wanting it to be needing it to be for him. And I think that's the same thing for the widows, because I mean, if it were me, I know my husband's handwriting. I would know right away that wasn't his. And you have to feel so bad for those widows that are just like, that they know deep inside that it's really, they know it's not theirs. Because, when you've been married a long time, each other's like strengths and weaknesses. Each other's handwriting for sure.
I could spot my handwriting. I could spot my husband's handwriting a mile away because it ain't pretty.
100%. And so I felt so bad for them as they're going through telling, like Henry Gowan, that it's theirs. And it was almost like it was a coping mechanism for everyone.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah.
And it was just a way for them to get their last, their feelings, their moments, their grief, closure, all of that out. And I just felt so bad about that. And for Abigail too, knowing that all these women who are in the same boat as her, and she knows that they all need that closure. So I don't blame her for not wanting to say anything, especially in such a tight-knit community. And grief does such weird things to people sometimes, especially if you're singled out for one little memento or something around those lines.
And I think it's because it was so soon after it happened. Like, it was 3 months. 3 months.
Yeah.
3 months.
So I think they found it later on. She might have been more willing to, say,
but because it was so fresh. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And they were just burying the last of the men too.
Mm-hmm. They had just found the last of the men.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of mementos, there is one memento from Coal Valley that Elizabeth receives that we have not spoken about yet. Never step between two coal boys mixing it up. Ooh, I mean, I don't think any of us really have any words for that point right there.
Bless her heart.
Oh, bless her heart is right. And in the sweetest way possible, she's trying to break up a fight between Gabe and James. She doesn't know any better. And I mean, did you
sucker punch to the face?
It's just so bad.
I mean, did you see the shock on James's face? I hit a woman. I hit my teacher. I am so dead meat. I I mean, think about it. Back then, you could get a serious whipping for something like that. I mean, that could make your backside hurt for a week. that was another part where my husband just burst out laughing. He said, "Well, that stopped the fight."
Hey, she did stop it.
She did stop it.
Very unconventionally, I might add.
Any final thoughts about any postscript about this episode before I challenge you with my trivia?
It brought all the feels again, like seeing it again. It just makes you happy, and like seeing like how different it is from like now season 7 to like season 1. I'm like, like, it's just so neat.
Yes,
it's a different place, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different place. That building behind Casey didn't even exist.
Did not exist. And I had forgotten how prissy Elizabeth was. And I had forgotten how kind of wimpy she was. Like, she's saying that she's a strong, confident woman, but I'm like, girl, you have a little ways to go. I mean, good on you for not bailing out, and good on you for having the, fortitude to stick to your guns and not let Jack run you out of town. But man, I had forgotten how much Elizabeth's character has grown and how much she's changed over the course of the 7 years. 8 years. So that was really fun for me. I really love young, sweet, naive Elizabeth.
Very stubborn Elizabeth.
Oh my word! She is.
What's the line?
Stubborn.
What's the line? I can take care of my own stub toes. Thank you very much. I'm a Thatcher. We don't run from a challenge. You better get used to a steady diet of coal dust. Oh man, she is stubborn.
She is, man. Woo.
Oh, I guess my final thought is it did my heart so much good. It like the show says, my heart called me here, and it's just to relive all those memories. I still remember being hugely pregnant with my son, sitting in bed. It had popped up on my Netflix choices so many times, and I finally just gave up. I said, okay, fine, I will watch it. And then I go, ooh. I just loved it. I loved it, and I couldn't stop. And that's the feeling, the home feeling, the uplifting feeling, the idea that you walk away from a TV show better. That it's rare these days, and it's something that this show does for us.
Yes, I had to stop myself from continuing. And then
me too.
I was like, no.
I'm like, you gotta pause.
I'm not gonna binge it in 24 hours like I did the first time.
Nope.
Gotta watch it so it's fresh in my mind for when we recap. So I made sure I stopped it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this before we record so it's all fresh and we get a fresh reaction.
Good girl.
Thank
you don't run from a challenge.
That's right.
All right. Are you ready?
I guess if we have to be.
Number 1. Name the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My bad. Name the 6 characters that are in the pilot that are still in Hope Valley today.
Okay. Elizabeth, Emily, Flo, Mo. Henry, yes.
Henry. Oh, 7. My bad. 7. I forgot Henry. That's terrible.
Yost.
Yost and Anna.
Yes.
You did it. Yes. Between the 2 of you, you got it. All 7.
5.
All 7. Nice work, ladies. Nice work. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't write down Henry. Bad Cammy. Call myself the hooked Hardy.
But here's the thing, though. He looks so different.
He does.
He does. Like, I really honestly forgot that was the same guy, you know? Especially with his character changes and his character growth and all that stuff, like, completely forgot. I had to remind myself, this is still Henry Gowan, same guy.
I know I keep talking about things my husband said, but it was just so odd that he would be making this many comments about it. But he said, man, I never liked Gowan in the first place, but going back and seeing him in the very beginning, why did they ever give him a second chance? All right. Number 2. What does the word hubris mean? Perhaps it was hubris or just stubborn pride. So what does hubris mean? This isn't really a trivia from the episode. Don't you dare use your phone.
Oh, come on. Gumption. I don't know.
I don't know.
So I had to look it up as well because I said, "Ooh, I've never looked up that word," and it's the 4th word in the show. So it means excessive pride or self-confidence, and usually it's in conjunction with being brought down. So I would say that Jack has a little bit of hubris as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Good one.
Thank you. Okay. This should be pretty easy. What are Jack's first words that he ever speaks in the episode?
I'm the Mountie.
I thought this would be easy.
I'm Jack Thornton.
No.
He said, okay, he rides in and
what does he say right there when he rides in?
Whoa. Whoa. Tells his horse to slow down.
That was a valiant effort, but no.
I mean, I know what he does. He basically stops the fight and then he tells...
Come on.
Here.
What?
Stop it right here. I don't know.
Oh, you guys are dancing around it. Move back.
Oh.
Move back are his very first words that he speaks in the entire episode.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. Okay. The telegram that Jack finds in the trash. Who was it to?
The mining company.
What's the name? It says
Pacific Northwest Mining Company.
No, it's not the company. I mean, that's eventually, but there's a name.
Is it Noah Stanton?
No, it's not Noah Stanton.
Henry Gowan.
Nope, because I think Henry may have written it.
Spurlock?
Nope.
Oh, wait, I have no idea.
Yeah, well.
Randall Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Randall Pope was the name on the telegram. Okay, this one I wasn't gonna do. This is my last one. This one I wasn't gonna do, but it was too perfect because it has a signed, sealed, delivered tie-in, which we're all fans of as well. So had to do it. Okay. The first sentence written on the board, the top sentence written on the board when Elizabeth is asking the class, is it a noun? A verb? What's the top sentence written on the chalkboard?
Hope is the thing with feathers.
Okay. Like I said, this is more for fun because it's kind of an SSD tie-in. Oliver climbed the massive tree, but then got stuck. All right, Hearties. Well, that was a quick one. That wraps up our pilot episode. And so tell us your thoughts on our Yak About Jack. What's your favorite part to yak about? And what do you think of the wood chopping? So we will see you next week, and stay tuned for more surprises coming. Bye.
Bye.
We have a very exciting announcement today. We are announcing the winner of our very first giveaway, sponsored and brought to you by Edify Films, our beloved merch handler and distributor. Thank you so much, Edify Films, for all of the incredible merchandise that you bring us to enhance our Hearties fandom, and for helping us out with this giveaway. We love you. Now, for the announcement. Drum roll, please. The winner is J. Natasha T. Twitter handle Nat_T_. You are the winner of a When Calls the Heart coloring book and journal. Congratulations! So please message us your mailing information, and we will get that prize to you right away. Have a wonderful day, Hearties. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for joining us on Hearties Hotline. For more juicy details and to see what's coming up, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Hearties Hotline. And we drop an episode every Wednesday, so we'll see you then. Until next time.